Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to today's reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 7, verse number 63. We will be continuing our reading from Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamam Vande Shri Gurum Diyamtarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hariyam Tatsa. Shudra Vishayi Gyane Upeksha Na Karibe Amar Vachane Tanre Avashya Milibe. Please do not neglect him, thinking he belongs to a Shudra family engaged in material activities. It is my request that you meet him without fail. Purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In the Varnashram Dharma, the Shudra is the fourth division in the social status. Paricharya Yatmakam Karma Shudrasyapi Swabhavajam. This is from Bhagavad-Gita 18.44. Shudras are meant to engage in the service of the three higher castes, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. Sri Ramananda Rai belonged to the Karan class, which is the equivalent of the Kayast class in Bengal. This class is regarded all over India as Shudra. It is said that the Bengali Kayasts were originally engaged as servants of Brahmanas who came from North India to Bengal. Later, the clerical class became the Kayasts in Bengal. Now, there are many mixed classes known as Kayasts. Sometimes it is said in Bengal that those who cannot claim any particular class belong to the Kayast class. Although these Kayasts or Karans are considered Shudras, they are very intelligent and highly educated. Most of them are professionals, such as lawyers or politicians. Thus, in Bengal, the Kayasts are sometimes considered Kshatriyas. In Orissa, however, the Kayast class, which includes the Karanas, is considered in the Shudra category. Srila Ramananda Rai belonged to this Karan class, therefore he wasn't considered a Shudra. He was also the governor of South India under the regime of Maharaj Pratap Rudra of Orissa. In other words, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya informed Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Ramananda Rai, although belonging to the Shudra class, was a highly responsible government officer. As far as spiritual advancement is concerned, materialists, politicians and Shudras are generally disqualified. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya therefore requested that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu not neglect Ramananda Rai, who was highly advanced spiritually, although he was born a Shudra and a materialist. A Vishay is one who is attached to family life and is interested only in wife, children and worldly sense gratification. The senses can be engaged either in worldly enjoyment or in the service of the Lord. Those who are not engaged in the service of the Lord and are interested only in material sense gratification are called Vishay. Srila Ramananda Rai was engaged in government service and he belonged to the Karan class. He was certainly not a sannyasi in saffron cloth, yet he was in the transcendental position of a Paramhans householder. Before becoming Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's disciple, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya considered Ramananda Rai an ordinary Vishay because he was a householder engaged in government service. However, when the Bhattacharya was actually engaged in Vaishnava philosophy, he could understand the exalted transcendental position of Sri Ramananda Rai. Therefore, he referred to him as Adhikari. An Adhikari is one who knows the transcendental science of Krishna and is engaged in his service. Therefore, all Grihastha devotees are designated as Dasa Adhikari. Verse 64. Tumar Sagera Yogya Teno Ek Jana Prithivete Rasika Bhakta Nahi Tanra Sama. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya continued, Ramananda Rai is a fit person to associate with you. No other devotees can compare with him in knowledge of the transcendental mellows. Verse 65. Panditya Ar Bhakti Rasa Dunhera Tenho Sima Sambhashile Janibe Tumi Tanhar Mahima. He is most learned scholar as well as an expert in devotional mellows. Actually, he is most exalted, and if you talk with him, you will see how glorious he is. Verse 66. Alokik Vakya Cheshta Tanra Na Bujhiya Parihasya Kariyachi Tanre Vaishnav Baliya. I could not realize when I first spoke with Ramananda Rai that his topics and endeavors were all transcendentally uncommon. I made fun of him simply because he was a Vaishnav. Purport. Anyone who is not a Vaishnav or an unalloyed devotee of the Supreme Lord must be a materialist. A Vaishnav living according to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's injunction is certainly not on the materialistic platform. Chaitanya means spiritual force. All of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities were carried out on the platform of spiritual understanding. Therefore, only those who are on the spiritual platform are able to understand the activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Materialistic persons cannot understand these activities and are generally known as karmis or jnanis. The jnanis are mental speculators who simply try to understand what is spirit and what is matter. Their process is neti. This is not spirit, this is not Brahman. The jnanis are a little more advanced than the dull-headed karmis who are simply interested in sense gratification. Before becoming a Vaishnav, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a mental speculator or jnani, and being such, he always cut jokes with Vaishnavas. A Vaishnav never agrees with the speculative system of the jnanis. Both the jnanis and karmis depend on direct sense perception for their imperfect knowledge. The karmis never agree to accept anything not directly perceived, and the jnanis put forth only hypotheses. However, the Vaishnavas, the unalloyed devotees of the Lord, do not follow the process of acquiring knowledge by direct sense perception or mental speculation, because they are servants of the Supreme Lord. Devotees receive knowledge directly from the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he speaks it in the Bhagavad-Gita, or sometimes as he imparts it from within the Chaitya Guru, within as the Chaitya Guru. As Lord Krishna states in Bhagavad-Gita 10.10, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. The Vedas are considered to have been spoken by the Supreme Lord. They were first realized by Brahma, who is the first created being within the universe. Tene Brahma Hridaya Ya Adi Kavaye. Our process is to receive knowledge from the Parampara system, from Krishna to Brahma to Narad, Vyas, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the six Goswamis. By disciplic succession, Lord Brahma was enlightened from within by the original person, Krishna. Our knowledge is fully perfect due to being handed from master to disciple. A Vaishnava is always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, and thus neither karmis nor jnanis can understand the activities of a Vaishnava. It is said, Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Vijneha Na Bujhaya. Even the most learned man, depending on direct perception of knowledge, cannot understand the activities of a Vaishnava. After being initiated into Vaishnavism by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya realized what a mistake he had made in trying to understand Ramananda Rai, who was very learned and whose endeavors were all directed to rendering transcendental loving service to the Lord. Verse 67, Tomar prasade ebe janinu tanra tattva sambhashile janibe tanra yemana mahatva. The Bhattacharya said, by your mercy I can now understand the truth about Ramananda Rai, and talking with him you also will acknowledge his greatness. Verse 68, Angikar kari prabhu tanhara vachana tanre vidaya dite tanre kaila alingar. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's request that he meet Ramananda Rai. Bidding Sarvabhauma farewell, the Lord embraced him. Verse 69, Ghare Krishna bhaji mora kariya ashirvade nilachale asi yena tomar prasade. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked the Bhattacharya to bless him while he engaged in the devotional service of the Lord Krishna at home, so that by Sarvabhauma's mercy the Lord could return to Jagannath Puri. Purport: the word Kariya Ashirvade means continue to bestow your blessings upon me. Being a sannyasi, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in the fourth order of life and was thus due all respect and adoration, whereas Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya as a householder was in the second order. A sannyasi is supposed to offer blessings to a grihastha, yet now by his practical behavior, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requested the blessings of a grihastha. This incident shows the special significance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's preaching. He gave equal status to everyone regardless of material considerations. His movement is thoroughly spiritual. Although apparently a grihastha or a householder, Sarvam Bhattacharya was unlike the so-called karmis interested in sense gratification. After being initiated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Bhattacharya was perfectly situated in the spiritual order. Therefore, it was quite possible for him to offer blessings even to a sannyasi. He was always engaged in the service of the Lord, even at home. In our disciplic line, we have the example of a perfect householder, Paramhamsa Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. In his book Sharnagati, Bhaktivinoda Thakur states, Ye dina grihe bhajan dekhi grihete golok bhaya. This is from the Sharnagati 31.6. Whenever a householder glorifies the Supreme Lord in his home, his activities are immediately transformed into the activities of Golok Vrindavan. Spiritual activities taking place in the Golok Vrindavan planet of Krishna. Activities exhibited by Krishna himself at Bhauma Vrindavan, the Vrindavan Dham, existing on this planet, are not different from his activities on the planet Golok Vrindavan. This is proper realization of Vrindavan anywhere. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we inaugurated the new Vrindavan activities where devotees are always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. And this is not different from Golok Vrindavan. The conclusion is that one who acts strictly in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is competent to offer blessings to sannyasis even though he be a grihastha householder. Although he is in an exalted position, a sannyasi still must elevate himself to the transcendental platform by rendering service to the Lord. By his actual behavior, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu begged the blessings of Sarvam Bhattacharya. In this way, he set the example of how one should expect blessings from a Vaishnav regardless of his social position. Verse 70, Etabali Mahaprabhu Karila Gamana Murchita Hena Tahan Padila Sarvam. Saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu departed on his tour, and Sarvam Bhattacharya immediately fainted and fell to the ground. Verse 71, Tanre Upekshiya Kailas Shigra Gamana Ke Bujite Pare Mahaprabhura Chittamana. Although Sarvam Bhattacharya fainted, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not take notice of him. Rather, he left quickly. Who can understand the mind and intention of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Purport, it was naturally expected that when Sarvam Bhattacharya fainted and fell to the ground, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would have taken care of him and waited for him to regain consciousness. But he did not do so. Rather, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately started on his tour. It is therefore very difficult to understand the activities of a transcendental person. Sometimes they may seem rather odd, but a transcendental personality remains in his position unaffected by material considerations. Verse 72, Mahanubhavera Chittera Swabhava Ehaya Pushpa Sama Komala Kathina Vajra Maya. Vajramaya. This is the nature of the mind of an uncommon personality. Sometimes it is soft like a flower, but sometimes it is as hard as thunderbolt. Purport, the softness of a flower and the hardness of a thunderbolt are reconciled in the behavior of a great personality. The following quotation from Uttar Ramacharita 2.7 explains this behavior. One may also consult the Madhya Lila 3rd chapter, verse 212. Verse 73, Vajrad api katorani Mriduni Kusumad api Lokotaranam Chetamsi Konu Vijnatum Ishwaraha. The hearts of those above common behavior are sometimes harder than a thunderbolt and sometimes softer than a flower. How can one accommodate such contradictions in great personality? Verse 74, Nityananda Prabhu Bhattacharya Uthaila Tandra Lok Sange Tandre Ghare Pathaila. Lord Nityananda Prabhu raised Sarvam Bhattacharya and with the help of his men saw him to his home. Verse 75, Bhaktakana Shigra Asi Laila Prabhura Saath Vastra Prasad Lena Tabe Aila Gopinath. Immediately all the devotees came and partook of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's company. Afterwards, Gopinathacharya came with the garments and prasadam. Verse 76, Sabsange Prabhu Tabe Ala Lanath Aila Namaskar Kari Tare Bahustuti Kaila. All the devotees followed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to a place known as Alal Nath. There they all offered respects and various prayers. Verse 77. Prema Veshe Nritya Geet Kaila Ketakshana Dekhite Aila Tahan Vaise Yata Jana. In great ecstasy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced and chanted for some time. Indeed, all the neighbors came to see him. Verse 78. Chaudi kete sab lok bale hari hari prema veshe madhye nritya kare Gaura Hari. All around Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is known as Gaura Hari, people began to shout the holy name of the Hari. Lord Chaitanya, immersed in his usual ecstasy of love, danced in the midst of them. Verse 79. Kanchan sadrisha deha aruna vasana pulakashru kampasveda tahate bhushana. The body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was naturally very beautiful. It was like a molten gold dressed in saffron cloth. Indeed, he was most beautiful for being ornamented with the ecstatic symptoms which caused his bodily hair to stand on end, tears to well up in his eyes, and his body to tremble and perspire all over. Verse 80. Dekhya lokera mane haila chamatkar yata lok aise keha nahi yae ghara. Everyone present was astonished to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dancing and his bodily transformations. Whoever came did not want to return home. Verse 81. Keha nache keha gaye Shri Krishna Gopal Premete bhasila lok stri vridha abala. Everyone, including children, old men and women, began to dance and to chant the holy names of Krishna and Gopal. In this way, they all floated in the ocean of love of Godhead. Verse 82. Dekhi Nityananda Prabhu kahe bhakta gane E rupe nritya age habe grame grame. Upon seeing the chanting and dancing of Sri Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda predicted that later there would be dancing and chanting in every village. Purport: this prediction of Sri Nityananda Prabhu's is applicable not only in India but also all over the world. That is now happening by his grace. The members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness are now traveling from one village to another in the Western countries and are even carrying the deity with them. These devotees distribute various literatures all over the world. We hope that these devotees who are preaching the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will very seriously follow strictly in his footsteps. If they follow the rules and regulations and chant 16 rounds daily, their endeavor to preach the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will certainly be successful. Verse 83. Atikal haila lok chadiya na yai tabe Nityananda Gosani Shri Jila Upai. Seeing that it was already getting late, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, the spiritual master, invented a means to disperse the crowd. Verse 84. Madhyan karite gela Prabhu ke lena taha dekhi lok aise chaudi ke dhana. When Lord Nityananda Prabhu took Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for lunch, at noon, everyone came running around them. Verse 85. Madhyan Karya Aila Devta Mandire Nij Gana Praveshi Kapat Dila Bahir Dware. After finishing their baths, they returned at noon to the temple. Admitting his own men, Sri Nityananda Prabhu closed the outside door. Verse 86. Tabe Gopinath Dui Prabhure Bhiksha Karaila Prabhura Shesh Prasadan Sabe Banti Khaila. Gopinath Acharya then brought prasadam for the two lords to eat, and after they had eaten, the remnants of the food were distributed to all the devotees. Verse 87. Shuni Shuni Lok Sabha Asi Bahir Dware Hari Hari Bali Lok Kolahal Kare. Hearing about this, everyone there came to the outside door and began chanting the holy name Hari Hari. Thus there was a tumultuous sound. Verse 88. Tabhi Mahaprabhu Dwara Karaila Mochana Anande Asiya Loka Paila Darshana. After lunch, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made them open the door. In this way, everyone received his audience with great pleasure. Verse 89. Emata Sandhya Paryanta lok ase, yai Vaishnav haila lok sabe nache kai. The people came and went until evening, and all of them became Vaishnav devotees and began to chant and dance. Verse 90, Ei rupe ei thani, bhakta gana sange, sei ratri, gunaila Krishna katha range. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then passed the night there and discussed the pastimes of Lord Krishna with his devotees with great pleasure. Verse 91, Pratha kale snan kari karila gamana bhakta gane vidaya dila Kari Alingana. The next morning, after taking his bath, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started on his South Indian tour. He bade farewell to the devotees by embracing them. Verse 92, Murchita hena sabe bhumite padila tanha sabapane prabhu firina chaila. Although they all fell to the ground unconscious, the Lord did not turn to see them but proceeded onward. Verse 93, Vichede vyakul prabhu chalila dukhi hena Pache Krishna Das Yai Jala Patra Lena. In separation, the Lord became very much perturbed and walked on unhappily. His servant Krishna Das, who was carrying his water pot, followed behind. Verse 94, Bhakta Gana Upavasi Tahani Rahila Ar Dine Dukhi Hena Nilachale Aila. All the devotees remained there and fasted, and the next day they all unhappily returned to Jagannath Puri. Verse 95, Matta Simha Praya Prabhu Karila Gamanat Prema Veshe Yaya Kari Nama Sankirtan. Almost like a madman, Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went on his tour filled with ecstatic love and performing Sankirtan, chanting Krishna's names as follows. Verse 96, Krishna 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 Hey Krishna 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 Hey Krishna 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 Rakshamam Krishna 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 Pahimam Ram Raghav Ram Raghav Ram Raghav Rakshamam Krishna Keshav Krishna Keshav Krishna Keshav Pahimam. The Lord chanted Krishna 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 Hey Krishna 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 Hey Krishna 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 Rakshamam Krishna 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 Pahimam. That is, O Lord, please protect me and maintain me. He also chanted Ram Raghav Ram Raghav Ram Raghav Rakshamam Krishna Keshav Krishna Keshav Krishna Keshav Pahimam. That is, O Lord Ram, descendant of King Raghu, please protect me. O Krishna, O Keshav, killer of the Keshi demon, please maintain me. Verse 97, Ei shloka padi pathe chalila gaura hari lok dekhi pathe kahe bala hari hari. Chanting this verse, Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, known as Gaurahari, went on his way. As soon as he saw someone, he would request him to chant Hari Hari. Verse 98, Ei loka prema matta hanahena bale hari Krishna prabhura pache sange yai darshan satrishna. Whoever heard Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chant Hari Hari also chanted the name of the Lord Hari and Krishna. In this way, they all followed the Lord, very eager to see him. Verse 99, Keta kshane rahi prabhu tare alingiya viday karila tare shakti sanchariya. After some time, the Lord would embrace these people and bid them return home, having invested each of them with spiritual potency. Purport in his Amrit Pravah Bhashya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that this spiritual potency is the essence of the pleasure potency and the knowledge potency. By these two potencies, one is empowered with the devotional service. Lord Krishna himself or his representative, the unalloyed devotee, can mercifully bestow these combined potencies upon any man. Being thus endowed with such potencies, one can become an unalloyed devotee of the Lord. Anyone favored by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was empowered with this Bhakti Shakti. Thus the Lord's followers were able to preach Krishna consciousness by divine grace. Verse number 100, Sei jana nija grame kariya gamana Krishna bali hase kande nache anukshana. Each one of these empowered persons would return to his own village, always chanting the holy name of Krishna and sometimes laughing, crying, and dancing. Verse 101. Yare dekhe tare kahe Krishna naam, e mata Vaishnav kahila sab nij gram. Such an empowered person would request everyone and anyone, whomever he saw, to chant the holy name of Krishna. In this way, all the villagers would also become devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. In order to become an empowered preacher, one must be favored by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or his devotee, the spiritual master. One must also request everyone to chant the Mahamantra. In this way, such a person can convert others to Vaishnavism, showing them how to become pure devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Verse 102. Gramantara haite dikhite aila yat jana tanra darshan kripai hai tanra sama. People from different villages who came to see such an empowered individual would become like him simply by seeing him and receiving the mercy of his glance. So we will continue our reading from verse number 103 next time. Thank you for joining. Hare Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.